you wash your hair?
Oh, why do you ask?
Don't know, because I had this conversation when I had my hair cut, actually.
Yeah.
And I don't mean rinse it with water, I mean wash it with shampoo. And
Once a week.
conditioner. Yeah,
And
I think I'm
condition twice a week.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
So
Why?
my hair gets really dry. I've got very long, well, now I have longer, thick hair. And if I'm running around the city or anywhere dusty, my hair gets really thick and heavy. So I always I'll always wet it when I shower.
Yes, same.
But and now it's getting longer, I will condition it. And then I have like a leave-in conditioner and like an argan oil, which really helps it stay sort of a bit less frizzy.
I was told that if you shampoo, you must condition. Like they're used hand in hand.
I've heard
Shampoo
that too.
opens up and then conditioner closes it.
Research that, and there's a lot of people who are growing longer hair to say, oh, you can actually condition and it nourishes the hair and keeps it hydrated. I don't think I would do it constantly. And also just depends on my week. But I do.
And also, do you ever think where you're like, you've got something coming up and you're like, well, I need to wash my hair. Do I plan it? Because me, the first 2 days after washing my hair, it's all floppy. It's down.
So it often dries out my hair to overwash it. But I think everyone's got different hair and does different things. They've got different objectives with the hair too.
Absolutely.
So,
but I'm definitely a 7 to 10 day kind of.
Depending on if I've done really sweaty exercise, I'll throw it
right.
off. But at least I like to wash it on a Sunday.
Yeah, that's a nice Sunday activity.
At least if I'm worried that it's going to look strange on Monday or Tuesday, it means that by the weekend the natural oils are in the hair. And guys, any hair care products, brands, want to get involved?
We love hair care.
Please,
absolutely.
mentioning. But
or a head massage.
I love a head massage. I just want to quickly comment on my tattoos, which aren't real, but nonetheless they are over. I have tried to wash them off. I dressed up for my birthday party as me and the girl who I shared the 30th with as Tommy Lee and Pamela Anderson, and I did loads of fake tattoos on my body. You can check it out on my Instagram. And I had ones on my neck, which I was very keen to remove, but for content, I'd look quite strange. And it took ages in the shower to get them off. Like I was scrubbing and waiting because it was getting raw, and I realised the rest of my body would be hours in the shower, so I'm just going to have to wait over the next few days for them to just naturally come off, or I take a bath and have like an exfoliating salt thing. Again, brands, bath bombs, please get in touch.
A good, simple costume it was, James. Well done.
Thank you.
It was very effective. It was obviously, well, I say simple, you've just described how you can't get the tattoos off.
I can't get them off.
But other than that, black tank top, black trousers.
Yeah, sometimes not a tank top.
Oh, didn't he have a soul patch? Did he have a sort of soul patch?
He did have a little goatee, but my facial hair was this long when I did it. But it was good fun. It was just like sort of rock and roll jeans, boots, chain over the thing. People saying they're loving the tattoos.
I wouldn't say I love them. It gives you a different vibe.
It's a totally different vibe. And when I stood half naked in the mirror, I had a real dysmorphia of like, who is this?
It's giving the bike riders.
James. Total bike. I was ready to roll off on my Harley.
Yeah.
Be like, peace out, 20s, flick a cigarette, and get out of there. But I just want to explain, I'm not having a sort of rebrand breakdown, but Tattoo James is here. I've got this woman on my chest here.
Yeah.
A lost love of mine. She's all faded. Yeah. She's coming off quite nicely.
Like the love.
Yeah. But George, I had a little. I was watching a video and it really sort of got my brain going. One of my favourite ever pieces of technology is the golden disc that lives on Voyager 1. Do you know about this?
No, but I just love the difference in our brain. When you said what's your favourite piece of technology, my brain went probably the Shazam app because it's so useful.
To know the iPhone.
The gold disc. Sorry, go on.
So do you know Voyager 1 launched in 1977, and it is the man-made aircraft that is the furthest into space, and its mission was to, what do they call it? Slingshot around different planets, send pictures of the planets. The pictures we have. Pale Blue Dot's Voyager 1, and it sent us all I think it did Saturn, it did Mars, Saturn, and it did Pluto in the year 2000. It sent these amazing photos back. But on Voyager 1 is this golden disc, and on this golden disc are etchings of diagrams and very specific things relating to humanity, and there is media printed on this disc. Wow. If anyone in advanced civilization was to ever find it, it contains on it some really brilliant things, including the exact location of Earth, based in relation to like the pulsars which emit light at a certain frequency and how further they are from Earth. It contains the details of the hydrogen atom, which is the most common atom in our universe, and it's like using that you can look at DNA and the location of the Earth and actually find us. It's really smart. There's images of a naked man and a woman, and on that are songs, sounds, and like media from the day that are meant to represent like that humanity is peaceful, that we are calm, and there are greetings and we come in peace in all our languages. So there's like namaste, konnichiwa, hello, we come in peace, shalom, and there's this long list. There's that message from President Jimmy Carter. There's loads of songs like Beethoven's Fifth Symphony is on there. There was things they wanted to get Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles on it, but they couldn't for rights reasons. And so I was thinking, there is media on this disc. And of course, there are contingencies, like you need to have some sort of record player to be able to get it. But nonetheless, I think it's a really cool little time capsule and sort of a message from the beyond that you can come and find Earth. I wanted to imagine if media and culture has advanced substantially since 1977. And I wanted you to imagine that Elon Musk or whoever is doing another spaceship, which let's imagine is going to be able to go faster and further than Voyager 1 ever would. I think Voyager 1 is long gone Pluto. It's in like the outer heliosphere, as they say, and it actually can still send images back to us, but there's actually very little for it to send for a long time. But anyway, I want you to imagine that they are doing Sirens on our end.
Sirens on our end.
A new spaceship, and on this disc are going to be the top songs, sights, sounds from culture, but they have decided that they want to put some movies onto this disc to represent the very best of humanity that we're ultimately not a threat and that we come in peace. What films do you think should be on that disc so that when the aliens pick it up, they go, what a wonderful civilization, let's not kill them, they seem really sweet.
So do we want to choose movies that are representative of like several decades past, or do you want like very recent ones to be?
Well, I think that's really up to us. I'd say they have to fulfill a certain criteria. They have to show off humanity and actually do it in a positive way and a way that is non-threatening.
Why?
Like, are you just going to throw on Koyaanisqatsi?
Oh God, yeah.
Because my instinct was, okay, well, the most obvious one is E.T. because it deals with the concept of things coming down from space. It actually breaks them in and says, do you know what? This is going to be very complicated when you come. Not everyone's going to receive you the same way. Yeah. But nonetheless, there's love and humanity and compassion in our human race. And I think if you didn't speak English or any language, visually, you could kind of get the main blocks of E.T. without actually having understood what everyone's saying.
Shawshank.
Interesting.
Because that shows what is, in many ways, the worst of mankind: incarceration, crime, brutality, holding power over other humans. But it also shows hope, depending on other people, and strength of character. And hope is the main thing, really. And so that's why Shawshank, despite its harsh environment, is a beautiful film. So I would say that maybe. I mean, my brain is starting to very logically think of science fiction films like WALL-E.
Oh, yeah. Tells us, it's like it.
But I don't want aliens to misinterpret that and be like, oh, it's
like Arrival, another one, very on the nose there, but nonetheless there's...
You want to show something that shows compassion.
You don't want to lie and be like, it's just going to be amazing. Like, it's going to be complicated and there's going to be politics. Independence Day, I'd stay away from.
You want to show mankind trying to be its best. That's why I thought of Shawshank. Yeah, mankind trying to be its best. Hey, I mean, like maybe Sing Sing from last week. I mean, that's beautiful. But look what we can do. Look what we can do. Similar vibe. Sing Sing and Shawshank share DNA, really. Yeah. They kind of. I don't know.
By the way, you can go on there's a great Wikipedia breakdown of the golden discs on Voyager 1, and there's actually loads of songs on there, and you can see all the sounds they put on it, and you can see like what the disc looks like. It's a really, really cool little time capsule from 1977. But I was thinking, culture is advanced.
Koyaanisqatsi is a good one.
Yeah.
Because
see George's review on Patreon.
See my review on Patreon for those who subscribe. Because I literally did, I think I said in my review, it's like if aliens came to Earth and made a documentary about it, this is what it would look like. And I'm wondering if that does kind of present to aliens in a very sort of artistic, but also like upfront way, being like, here is Earth, here is life.
Could you don't look up, but I'm worried without the English language, that would be very...
What about the meteorite you're coming?
Yeah. It's quite a good sum up of humanity's flaws.
Yeah.
But also that we have a sense of humour about it.
Bleak, though.
It's very bleak, yeah. The film does get very bleak towards the end. I mean, we don't have to have an answer. I just thought it was interesting.
What's a lovely, nice film we can think of?
Lots of
like a lovely, like Toy Story, maybe.
Toy Story. Yeah, would you just go animated?
But then that's just going to mislead them entirely because they're going to think everything is just like...
when they turn up and it's not Toy Story. That would be really funny.
Good question. Yeah. We'll keep that rolling.
But guys, if you had thoughts of what you would put on your Voyager equivalent of today, what film would you put on there to communicate to extra life?
I bet Voyager 1 is so smug that it got the best portraits of all those other planets. It's like Saturn. Yeah, I shot that.
Been there.
Yeah, you see that nice side profile? Yeah, I shot Saturn.
Yeah.
Nightmare to work with.
Well,
Nightmare.
The detailed photos they got were used to feature on Interstellar when they went past Saturn. In that, it's like the prime source for imagery of planets.
Yeah, you don't want to show them science fiction in case the aliens think this is what they actually had this technology.
Yeah,
we better
fiction.
bring the big guns.
Yeah, we'll do mistake documentary for drama.
Welcome to episode 145 of Pulp Kitchen. This week we're talking about Speak No Evil with James McAvoy and Lee, starring Kate Winslet. Last week we talked about Beetlejuice and Sing Sing. If you haven't listened to that episode yet, please go out and catch that.
Plus, we just recorded a double take for you guys that support us on Patreon and on Spotify. We talked all about Wolves getting kind of silently pushed into straight to streamer. The fact that Brad and George are going to be doing Ocean's 14. We also covered the new Minecraft movie trailer backlash and sort of our thoughts on that and why it's not being received very well. We talked a lot about
George R.R. Martin slagging off House of the Dragon when really he should be writing and finishing that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, just covered the latest and greatest of movie news.
So go and check that out if you haven't already and get access to all previous episodes of Double Take. It's great fun. And moving on to the episode.
To the films, I suppose. Other than that, I hope everyone's well. But yes, let's crack on with the films of this week.
So George, Lee, a Sky original film starring Kate Winslet, directed by Ellen Kuras, who historically was a DOP, and she's directing this film. She worked with Kate Winslet on shooting Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. And this is a story of photographer Lee Miller. And a story of Lee Miller's life has apparently been circulating for a long time, something like 20, 25 years. People have been trying to make an adaptation of Lee Miller's life. Lee Miller was a model in her youth and eventually became a photographer. This film documents her period of her life from the mid-1930s through to her involvement in World War II and afterwards. We start with Lee Miller in, it's France, isn't it, with her friends. Very sort of like casual and fun and bohemian. They sort of smoke and they have their tops off and they're having gorgeous sun-soaked picnics. But obviously the threat of Hitler and the rise of far-right extremism is very much there. They're watching the Pathé News projections, giving their takes on the war. And it's very much, there's sort of this moment where one of her friends says to her, "Oh, you really must come back to Paris with us. It's going, all of this is going to be great." And she says no, and that's obviously such a key life-changing decision. If you know, Paris was completely destroyed and invaded as in part of the World War II. She actually ends up falling in love, going back to London, and takes photographs for Vogue magazine. And the editor of Vogue magazine is played by Andrea Riseborough. And she feels this call to go to World War II and photograph the war. And she does that with American photographer
Davy Sherman,
played by Andy Samberg, who's doing a real sort of acting departure of him. We haven't really seen him do anything like this as far as I'm aware. And it follows her trying to get a place to photograph World War II. And obviously, as a woman, she is denied many different instances for all the reasons that women were denied access to World War II. But nonetheless, through perseverance and pure attrition, she manages to get to the front lines. She's photographing the initial conflict in France, and then makes a decision to drive for a few months to the front lines of the war in Germany. And her photographs are some of the most famous depictions of World War II. She is one of the first people to have photographed the horrors of the Holocaust and to have got that media presented in Vogue. And this tells the story of her in World War II. It also stars Josh O'Connor, who plays... Well, I actually won't say who he plays. It also stars Josh O'Connor and Alexander Skarsgård and Marion Cotillard, Andrea Riseborough, who I said. Cotillard, thank you. And quite a big cast, actually, for a film like this. Yeah. And George, Lee, how did you get on with it?
Yeah, so we went to a screening of this and we knew that you were going to be speaking to the director. I think the story is really interesting and really, really incredible. Like, her life just sounds brilliant. I was slightly sad from my perspective to find that I found it particularly pedestrian, prosaic, straightforward, very cliched biopic, which is a real shame because I love Kate Winslet and I love the cast and I really am interested in this story, but it never really actually elevates itself more than just your very standard kind of half-baked biopic. But there is some interesting stuff happening. So like I say, Kate Winslet is great, fully committed, as good as everything.
Always, as she always has been.
I think, and the cast in general are wonderful. There are some slightly bizarre things with the cast. Marion Cotillard is in a tiny little role, but she's just there. There's this very bizarre casting decision to cast Alexander Skarsgård as a Brit, which I found very distracting, very, very distracting, because he's Alexander Skarsgård and does not have a British accent. He's just got his own accent. You also have this sort of strange thing where Lee Miller was American and Kate Winslet is playing her, which is not a problem. Actors have done that all the time. But there is this moment where we're seeing Kate Winslet in London, which of course we're used to seeing. And Kate Winslet goes, "Of course, I'm American. I can do this." And I'm like, yes. And I think... it might sound pedantic to pull out details like that, but I think it's an example of because the film wasn't working for me and other elements, I was more drawn to this. I think seeing Andy Samberg turn up in a different role is great.
He's really good in it, yeah.
But I just felt like there was lots of interesting ingredients that it kind of just walked through and showed me, but it didn't engage me in a way. And I thought, these are all wonderful ingredients and really interesting parts of the story. And there was honestly only one part of the film that I really kind of got interested in, was when the tide of the war is changing. And this is like 2/3 into the movie. Yeah. The tide of the war is changing. We're nearing the end. It's 1944, 45. And it's that moment where Lee Miller realizes that the war, something else is happening, that people are she hears about people who have disappeared and not come back. And you get this perception of that, what the Holocaust was before, what the perception of the Holocaust was to those, the Allied forces who weren't aware of it, who hadn't lived through it, and coming to discover it for themselves. That's quite interesting. But sadly, I did find it quite underwhelming and quite boring.
That was my favourite part too, and I think it's the most interesting concept, because I think we forget that the Holocaust, the horrors of the Holocaust were revealed after the war, and it took a long time for people to want to talk about it, and for the media to actually itself get published. And I think we take for granted that media in war today is it's a part of the whole thing live as it's happening. But back then, you needed someone to see it. You needed to get the photos to where it needed to be. And there's this there's a really great conversation where they're trying to understand why people are going missing. They're sort of like Jews, gypsies, artists, communists, everyone who's got an idea different to them. We don't know where they're gone. Everyone's looking for someone. And I think there is a bit of like media and photographic history about where those photos ended up going. And I think that's a very interesting part of it. But watching the film, it's sort of an exercise in realizing that you need to have a statement or a reason for making this film. Otherwise, I feel like I'm kind of scrolling through a Wikipedia page slightly, which is such a shame, because I do think the story is brilliant, and some of the moments where photography is captured is definitely really difficult to see. But we made this comment as well, because you and I are both casual fans of photography. We almost felt like there could have been more made about the construction of the photos and lining them up. 'Cause it's only in the credits, if you stay for them, that the photos and the moments you've been seeing are going to be held up. And I almost thought, ironically, Civil War, which is a war photography film, did a better job of impacting you with the photograph and doing the still image and having it sit there and land on you. I was like, that actually worked better as a war photography film.
And actually, I almost also think that the bike riders had more to say about photography.
Totally,
than not obviously war photography, but
just based on a photography book.
It's interesting that those two films stand out more, and that was slightly my frustration as well, which is that you have a film about a very famous photographer, also directed by someone who was a DP, director of photography, and I was surprised at how uncharismatic and interesting visually the film was to look at. Look, I accept
it's tricky because
the time period was very brown and very boring, but I still don't think it was shot in a particularly engaging way. It actually looked very digital and very kind of flat and new, and I just was surprised. I'm like, that period you're talking about in the 1930s, where she's with all of her friends, who, by the way, I only realised afterwards one of the characters is Pablo Picasso. Don't know if you picked up on that.
I didn't pick up on that at all.
What a wasted ingredient, right? What a wasted ingredient. And I'm like, that should have been really, like, you could have really livened that up. That's a real rich period of history.
Rolling with fiction a bit there.
Exactly. But no, I was actually quite disappointed at how kind of flat and staid it was. And like I said, just kind of trots through these ingredients. So it's like you have that Pablo Picasso not even mentioned or shown up. Then like, yes, she's back in London and Cecil Beaton's there. Oh, hi, Cecil Beaton. Yeah, okay. Again, Cecil Beaton, famous photographer in his own right.
Yeah.
And then the stuff with Andrea Riseborough. And I just, I wish it gelled more. I wish it gave me more impact. And bizarrely, as you say, Civil War almost had more to say about.
And there's a moment at the end, which I won't. I think if you'll know this if you've seen it, where I think it tries to make a grander point and tie. It's almost, I'd say, arguably a twist.
Yeah.
Where it tries to tie something together, and unfortunately, because the film hadn't really won me over, and this dynamic of an older Lee Miller talking about her life in the photographs that were taken, this moment at the end to try and tie it up to make it more profound just didn't land for me, and it felt very filmy.
Yeah.
And that sort of consolidated my thoughts on the film.
I was like, in that moment at the end, I thought, oh, if you're going to do that, I think you should have completely restructured and reframed the whole way of doing this film, and then actually the way into this story could have been through Josh O'Connor's character.
Yeah.
You almost could have begun with Josh O'Connor's character, and then we could have got into the world of Lee Miller. But
definitely check out the photography.
Yes.
I guarantee you actually probably, if you watched or consumed World War II historical documentaries, you will have seen her work, because I recognised the photos but didn't know they were attributed to Lee Miller, and the film at the end does show you the photos that were taken. So there is always that, and I think you and I are always just going to enjoy dramatisations of World War II and the true stories that were told, but just not quite elevating itself for me, unfortunately.
No, sadly. I was actually quite surprised to see the film. We saw the film a few weeks ago, and then since then we've realised that it's had a red carpet premiere. And Kate Winslet's been on the One Show, and I've actually been slightly surprised at the scale they've put behind this film, because I thought it was so fairly average. But well intentioned, good talent there. Just wishing that the story was. The film was as good as the story it told.
Yeah, it's like you're longing for a bit more artistic flair in that film, strangely.
Because they're about an artist.
It's artists making films about art in the most extreme of circumstances.
Yeah.
And even the moments when, which I know are moments that really happen, she is running with her camera at her chest while bullets are flying around, grenades popping off. I don't actually feel that much in those scenes as I think I could have, which is slightly strange when I know this is a true story, and I am like talking about someone who actually would have done this.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely, I think the life and story of Lee Miller is really interesting, and if you've seen the film, but if not, you can find out more about the photos and how they were found and how it eventually got printed and who was able to show the stories. And Lee Miller's thoughts on that are very interesting. Her identity as someone who was in front of the camera and then being behind it, being a woman. There's all great things there.
I also would have liked to have seen, I know because the real substance of her life and her career is her photography, but the fact that she was a Vogue model, and I would have loved to have seen the contrast in the glamour of that world, and then the reality of that time, particularly the sexism of reaching a certain age and then being aged out of being a model, and then what do you do then? Because there's this, it's like one line when she comes back to London, and Cecil Beaton sort of says, we don't deal with has-been models, what are you doing here? And I'm like, that's actually quite an interesting point you could have drawn out there, but
but it wasn't necessarily burdening itself with being a Lee Miller biopic.
It's called Lee.
Yeah, it is called Lee.
It is,
we're picking up in the sort of mid-1930s, and then basically ends first at the end of the war. So it's not worried about telling the whole
life.
thing.
No, I suppose.
Which I guess I wonder if it had been chopped around for ages. I bet there are loads of different versions of people trying to tell different parts of her life.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what you're going to say.
Well, I was just saying. Also, I'm not a big. This is nitpicking now. This isn't necessarily a big criticism. It's more just a side point. I'm never a big fan of movies that just have a name for a title, or just one calling it Lee. I'm like, it almost tells me about the film. That's not interesting enough about.
And the poster is a full comp of Kate Winslet's face, Lee written across. It's like this star. Yeah. 3 letters, Lee. But as always, guys, if you've seen Lee and you want to let us know your thoughts, please send your thoughts in, your questions, your thoughts, your concerns, your reviews to hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com. We would love to read them out on the show. If maybe you thought differently to us or you got something out of it that we didn't, as always, we would love to hear about it.
So let's do Speak No Evil, the new movie, which has been advertised for a while, but it actually isn't coming. You know, it's been a while for it to release, with this very sort of minimalist poster of James McAvoy.
Very dramatic, half-cast lighting.
Half-cast lighting.
That we talked about the crunchy photography style that a lot of boxing posters get, where they clearly up the clarity, and I could just see every pore and little fleck of dirt and hair, just perfectly defined.
Really harsh.
Just over-sharpened.
So Speak No Evil is a new film directed by James Watkins, who's made films like Eden Lake. He's a British director. And I think, first of all, just to context, James and I saw this at a screening last week. A very raucous screening.
I haven't actually told you yet about the extension of what happened. I just never had time to tell you because we have too many conversations. You know the woman next to me?
Oh, yeah.
So there's a woman next to me. I want to say...
Yeah. Let's just clarify. Look, James and I, forever, we will always be thankful to go to a screening. It is a privilege, and it is a great...
Often great ways to see films.
But this screening was... typically when we go, they are... P&I, press and industry, and like you have film people there. We recognise fellow content creators that go there, all that stuff. None of that this time. We didn't recognise a single person.
Sometimes it's just some guy works at a media company. The email goes round to the team. Does anyone want to go to this thing?
But there were lots of influencers and just people from different environments, and we realised quite early, before the film started, this crowd was really raucous and alive, and
I think there was a big sort of drinks occasion made before the film, so everyone had definitely had a couple of glasses.
And we will talk about this in review. There were times when that was there was times when that kind of lifted the experience, but undeniably there was chatting,
especially in the third act where the action ramps up. People giving a running commentary and a sort of "Go on, go get it! No, turn back."
I knew the person next to James. I felt very sorry. We had this really interesting thing where James was next to this woman who I'm sure you explained about, and then I ended up bumping into someone from uni I hadn't seen in like 10 years, having this sort of kind of conversation here. And I felt sorry for you because this woman straight away, never met her before, was just like, I'm going to have to hold your hand if I get scared, won't I?
She said the same thing twice, which was like, it's like, you will keep me safe if I get scared, won't you? And I was like stuffing my face with popcorn, being like, I mean, sure, whatever you want. Made that joke again. And what I haven't told you is that within the first 2 minutes of the film, she squeezed my knee, which just, I didn't acknowledge it, but I was just immediately like, what the you doing? Please just don't do that. And she did it 2 more times.
Oh, that's
through
so
the run of that
uncomfortable.
film, like a jump, and she squeezed my knee, and I just was like, "Can you please just leave me alone?" And then they were doing that thing in the third act where they were giving a running commentary. I don't know if you heard me say.
You quite rightly told them to be quiet.
I was like, "Do you mind?" The annoying thing is, so many other people were doing it. They actually really took the power out of me saying, "Can you stop doing that?" But when it's right next to you, and it's like, "Don't go through that door."
Yeah.
No. What are you talking about? Get in the car.
Yeah.
I was like, "Please, can you please stop talking?" It's really annoying.
It was one of those rare occasions where I think the people who weren't chatting were in the minority.
Yeah.
You felt like you were in a sea of just people. So that is a disappointment.
Anyway,
that's just context.
That's just for our experience.
I'm really sorry. Also, like, good on you for having...
I mean, it was fine.
I was just saying you have
annoying.
patience. You did correct them, but I also...
You know when you're watching something, I can feel a presence on my right side just being like, Anyway,
but nonetheless, Speak No Evil. So James Watkins came out beforehand and said, I just want to say thank you for coming to this screening. When I was making this film, I said it's a Blumhouse movie. We should say that, huge horror production house. And he said, if I wanted to make this movie, my condition was that I wanted to make it in the UK because I wanted to make something that spoke to me and my experience in my life. And they said yes. Now, I just want to say straight away, I knew nothing about Speak No Evil. I had not seen a trailer. All I knew was the poster. I did not know the premise or anything. As far as I was aware, the whole thing was set in Italy. So I just went with it. And I believe, as with all of these things, the less you know of these films, the absolute better.
I'd say that's true for almost every film
in life, yes. But particularly of this one here.
Like, imagine if you had just been sat down for Dune Part 2 without ever knowing what you were going to watch. You would just be...
Well, basically kind of... Yeah. But yeah.
You'd seen the trailer.
I had seen the trailer, but yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
So, but Speak No Evil, based off of a Danish film from 2022, actually, and adapted into the English language, and picked up by Blumhouse and made into a much bigger film. Starring James McAvoy, Aisling Franciosi, who we loved in God's Creatures. Mackenzie Davis is an actor I've really liked for a while. Scoot McNairy, also I've loved. And actually, Mackenzie Davis and Scoot McNairy were in that TV show together I watched called *Halt and Catch Fire*. So really strong acting talent and great talent from the kids as well. We begin the film in Italy, a gorgeous part of Tuscany, high on a hill. And we meet American couple played by Mackenzie Davis and Scoot McNairy and their young daughter. And they're having a very quiet, lovely time on holiday. When arriving at the hotel is James McAvoy and his wife and his son. And immediately they are a little bit louder than everyone else at the hotel, quite vocal. There's this moment where James McAvoy immediately does a running bomb into the swimming pool. Yeah. And it's this slight cliche of British tourists abroad, but never tipping over too much. Yeah. But they're also incredibly friendly and over nice, but friendly in a way that is just that
like very
too
confident
much.
and unfiltered.
Yes.
Like very honest and upfront. Yeah.
Through circumstances that I won't spoil, the families become friends and friendly on holiday, and they have dinner together. And obviously, there's this mirror image, of course, that the American couple have their daughter, and James McAvoy and his wife have their son, and they get chatting. And there is this brief moment where, as Americans in London, they say, "Oh, we haven't really explored much of the UK," and they say, "Oh, you've got to go to the West Country," and they say, "Oh, we haven't really gone out that far." He says, "Oh, you must come out and visit us at the farm." And he says, "Okay, I will." He says, "You will? Great, you will. Fantastic." And it's this sort of slightly uncomfortable moment, but moves on. Anyway, sure enough, they return home back to England. Life carries on. And then a postcard arrives, says, "Don't forget, we had a lovely time in Tuscany. We'd love for you to come and join us at our farm." The wife says, "We don't really know these people. A weekend's a bit of a long time to go and join them." But because of the circumstances in the movie, sure enough, the American couple and their daughter find themselves driving to this farm in Devon to spend the weekend with James McAvoy and his family. We should mention as well that James McAvoy's son has this medical condition, we're told, where unfortunately he cannot...
his tongue is a bit too big.
Too small.
Oh, too small.
Too small for his mouth. And you're kind of thinking that's probably where the kind of maybe Speak No Evil title comes from, perhaps. But ultimately, you have... a very social dynamic film. Now, I mentioned Blumhouse at the beginning. I think it's important to say this isn't a horror film. This is very much more a thriller.
Interesting, because in a featurette, James McAvoy said, this is a horror film.
Oh, it's not
X,
a horror
Y,
film.
and Z.
No, it's not a horror film.
I agree with you.
It's a complete thriller. There you go. It's social-based. It's this sort of awkward city meets country environment. James, speak
That's
no
whole
evil.
like social clash of city meets environment and like sort of American meets Brit twist in a way, because I think in a lot of ways the American couple are a bit more reserved than the British couple in some senses, but you have this like urban versus country clash of like the values that they have, how much sex they're having. They're then confronted with all of their demons as they're learning about how they like to operate, and all of that is really good fun. And of course, as audience members, we're projecting our own versions of that morality onto them. The script is like, it's so many times I'm watching it and I'm like, this is really good fun, but also like completely ridiculous. And a lot of the times I thought, especially in the crowd we were watching it in, some of the moments in the script, I was like, this is just so far out there, but nonetheless fun to watch it all play out. James McAvoy is brilliant in it, and it's proof that, I said this to you before we went in, you could put James McAvoy in anything and he's just going to go for it. I wonder if maybe in this film, James McAvoy's character of Paddy has maybe one or two too many ideas attributed to him. And I think he's run with everything, and he's got so many different dynamics and things to say and things to do, and he carries a lot of the momentum of the film. I almost think, are you trying to do a little too much here? But the thrill element of it and the rush and the escape, which they don't hold you in suspense as to whether or not something's gone wrong. It's always clear from the marketing that something is going to go horrifically wrong. So it's like action towards the third act is very fun to see play out. And it's both this like thrilling but funny but slightly strange, fun script that is, I think it's just solid, good fun. I'm not exactly like thinking about the deep themes and metaphors. I think I had a good idea of what this was when I went in. It played out as I thought it would, and it's good fun.
I really enjoyed it.
Oh, really?
I had a really great time with it. I mean, I basically agree with everything you're saying, but I got such a great experience with it, despite the context of our audience, that I really loved it. I've not been thinking about the deeper themes at all.
No.
But I first of all, it's just a proper nail biter.
Yeah,
it's
very tense.
Very, very tense. And I love that the tension is completely about social dynamics and people. It's not
Politeness
necessarily
as well.
about quiet bang. It's not something creepy in the woods. It is just the way that a slight sentence might be said, or that someone can say something that's just that touch uncomfortable, but because people are too polite and too obeying the social rules, the unspoken social rules, and then in a way metaphorically, the American couple are being tortured by their own niceness, their own politeness. And there's a line that James McAvoy sort of has later in the film that really kind of speaks to that, and I really enjoyed that. But and that dynamic would only work if you had actors that could hold it, which they do. All four of them are fantastic, and the kids as well are great.
Yes, very good kids.
I like this element that the poster was already giving me like retro kind of vibes, but when I watched the film, it's the closest thing it reminds me to. There's a 1971 movie called Straw Dogs, Dustin Hoffman, Sam Peckinpah movie, which is very similar in the sense that it's about an American couple living in the British countryside, and that gets quite nasty and sinister. And that is also about a man feeling emasculated by, his function and role as a man. And there's kind of echoes of that. I never actually found moments where I thought, oh, that's completely ridiculous, because I feel that's so built into this genre.
Right, yeah.
And was so, because all the rest of it was so meticulously, I think really well directed and really well orchestrated. I never kind of rolled my eyes, even when there's a very pivotal moment in the center of the film where you think the film's going to go a certain direction, and then a decision is made to go another direction. The whole audience went, no. Yeah. But I'm like, yes, but I don't mind that, because we've built in the context of that character who is going through something else, and that's what's happening here in front of me on the screen. So I'm dancing around spoilers here the whole time. But I really enjoyed watching it, and there were moments in the third act, which is great fun. Yeah. There was a particular moment where, something almost happens and it doesn't, and then, the whole audience was like, ah, yeah, and I really had a proper thigh-slapping moment. I was really surprised by it. Don't get me wrong, I don't think it's got many deeper themes, but as an execution, particularly also from a studio, from studio production, I had a really great time.
I think it's also a film you could enjoy equally at home as well, like watching it with a partner or with friends. I mean, it's a good sleepover film, actually.
Yes, it is
really good sleepover. It always has like a Scream feel to it, where like it's nasty and sinister, but also very fun and playful.
Dark as well.
Oh yeah,
it's suitably dark. So it's obviously building towards a sort of mystery at the heart of it. When that sort of is revealed, I thought, wow, that is dark, and I thought it kind of stuck the landing, because then the film then becomes another thing. Afterwards.
I guess like moments where I thought a couple of scenes had run their course, and I feel like, are we elongating this to play on the nail? I enjoy the tension, the nail biting, but maybe I was just like, okay, we're gonna go for round 3 of this version of the scene. Like in particular, like what stuff with the kids, and even towards the end is there's a really great moment. I think actually one of my favorite moments where I actually think the scene went on too long is when everyone knows exactly what's going on, but they can't admit it to each other. It's this, maybe you forgot this scene. I'm like, this is so silly, but fun and playful. Yeah. So I had a couple of friends who said it looked really silly, and I want to say to them, it is a bit, but I had a good time with it, and it's worth seeing. But I actually think, like, especially Mackenzie Davis and Scoot McNairy, I really believed them as a couple.
Yes.
They were very sort of natural and sort of, in a way, like quite dry in a way that really worked for their characters.
Well, that's what I wondered, because they are actors who have worked together for a long time with each other before.
Yes,
I wonder if that kind of builds. Yeah.
There's great moments, like if you've ever stayed somewhere where you're in a house that's very sort of overly furnished and cluttered, and they get to the bed and there are stains on there, and like, should we say something? I don't think we can say anything. Let's just like hold out. And
but I find it interesting comparing it with a film. It's interesting that it's come so quickly after something like Blink Twice. Yeah, another film about going to basically holiday somewhere, but something is slightly amiss. And I was watching Speaking of Evil thinking, no, this is so much better than Blink Twice, because I felt like the mystery is so much more better executed and not simplistic. I agree, it's a great sleepover movie, but it's dark, it's sinister, and it is a bit silly, but
James McAvoy is built like a tank in this. He's got these huge shoulders, and he loves to physically sort of emasculate Scoot McNairy. He's always grabbing him by the shoulders and patting him on the back. And he's pushing them all out of their comfort zone, taking them on walks. Like, let's jump into the water. He's very sort of like liberal and okay with putting his body out there. And
I do think there's like this. I think the film kind of quite successfully walks this kind of tightrope where, on one hand, it could have become a much more cerebral, almost satirical study of middle-class politeness and almost like a play.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Like Carnage. You've seen the Carnage.
Yes, like Carnage. Yeah, good
exactly
example.
like
And then, or it could have gone the other way and become really gratuitous and really over the top and really silly. I think it just about balanced it enough for me.
You know what else? Oh, sorry.
No, by the thing I was just going to say is when you mentioned James McAvoy, I was watching him and I was like, I think Paul Mescal should follow some of what McAvoy has done. Yeah. And I think I'd love to see Paul Mescal play a very threatening, sinister presence, because Paul Mescal, like McAvoy, has this kind of Brando physicality. McAvoy more now. When he was a bit scrawnier as Mr. Tumnus. But I'd love to see, people often say, sorry, it's a tangent about Paul Mescal, but people say about Paul Mescal, he kind of has that kind of Brando physicality, right? And remember Marlon Brando, one of his most famous roles was Streetcar Named Desire. And in Streetcar Named Desire, the whole thing about Stanley Kowalski is that he's big, he's loud, he's like charismatic, but he's also incredibly sinister. And particularly with the way that story ends, I'd love to see Paul Mescal adopt that kind of role.
He did a little bit in God's Creatures, have more of a threatening side to him,
which
I
did,
thought
of course.
was interesting for the time. And it's an interesting thing for him to do, considering where his career sort of led him down. But I agree, it would be good to see more of that.
The thing that, sorry, I will let you back to the film. But the thing that made me think that is I rewatched All of Us Strangers recently, and the cheeky sort of flirtation he has with Andrew Scott at the very beginning. Like, it's not sinister at all, but I saw it as just acting. And I was like, I'd love to see you really like toy with someone and really bring it up. Anyway.
And McAvoy does monologues and he has these bipolar like face drops where he's smiling and all of a sudden it isn't. And it actually reminds me of like these choose your own adventure, pick left or right video game, like quick time event things. Where like if you've ever played Until Dawn, where like you're presented with, you're being chased and there's two corridors, left or right, which one are you going to do? And watching it, you're like, well, I would have done this. So it's fun to like play along with that.
I think it's sorry, I know you're trying to say this there, but I think it's unfortunate that the film does slightly fall into that very, very cliche trap of like, people from the city are nice and people from the country are weird. Like, which it has fun like toying with it, but like ultimately it doesn't do that cliche any favors.
It's everything I find scary. Every time I go to the countryside and I'm like, it's just dark around us for kilometers. And if we had a heart attack right now, it would take them ages to get here. Like there's no signal. It's pitch black. I can't leave here. I was like, George, it's everything I hate about the countryside. But yes, that is Speak No Evil.
I did have a great time, and I knew I had a good time because I went back and I said to Anna, I was like, "Look, you're never gonna see this film because it's too dark and too sinister. But can I tell you everything that happens in it?" It took me half an hour. She got to the end, she went, "Wow, I'm glad I'm not seeing that."
She wouldn't like it at all. Even though it's not scary.
Anna doesn't like dark things. Here's the bizarre thing about Anna. Okay, if it's a fictional movie like Speak No Evil, like very sinister stuff, very dark, she'll be like, "Oh, no. If it's a true crime podcast, be like, and then he decapitated her and buried her." She eats it up.
Yeah, how interesting.
How bizarre.
It's the artificial nature of it is what makes it. How strange.
Anna's a very... will dream every night and a very impressive dreamer. So if she sees or hears a story like that, I couldn't even tell her that late at night because it would infiltrate her dreams. She'd have dreams about it.
Talia loves a concept, an elevator pitch concept. So anything that's like fantasy sci-fi concept, she loves. But if I told her some couples meet in Italy, but something's wrong, she's in. She doesn't like sort of too open as a concept from the get-go. It has to be like, I want to know the hook.
Yeah.
And then she gets really sucked into it.
But I don't know if I think I might have enjoyed this maybe more than other people did.
Yeah,
and I'm sure
I had fun time.
I was chatting to someone at your birthday about it who had seen the original Danish one. They said they loved it, and I'm sure, which is about a Danish couple and a Dutch couple. I'm sure that's fantastic as well. I really did have a great time with it. I really did enjoy
James
it.
McAvoy can do everything. And I think in this film, he does do everything. I said to you, I was like, I wonder if they gave his character one too many mental health problems. Is he bipolar? Probably. Has he got like a sort of, what is it called, like a psychosis or projection? I think so too. Let's just do all
complex,
of them. Maybe I was like seeing all of the takes of what we could do with ideas for his character. And I was like, it's maybe one too many ideas for me, but he pulls it off. The question is not of whether or not he can achieve it. It's just he is this acting force physically and sort of for his performance.
The film would be lesser without him in it. It completely rests on his shoulders, actually.
You could put him in, like, on the stage at the Globe.
Oh, yeah.
You could put him as Professor X in a studio film, and you could put him in something really interesting and independent, and he will just deliver every single time.
Like one of his career's best performances is Split, which is not a great.
Right. Yeah.
It's an okay movie, but like his work in it is phenomenal.
Yeah. And playing 100 characters in that film as well. But yeah, guys, that was Speak No Evil. As always, we'd love to hear your thoughts on how you got on with the film. So if you had your thoughts, questions, concerns, reviews, please send them in to hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com, or you can support us on the VIP tier on Patreon and have priority access to have your email read out on the show. So please send those in if you want to have them read out on the show.
Well,
circular going round, which you can do out there.
That was Speak No Evil. As ever, James, we love to read out our emails from sirens, listeners, people far and wide across the world. And in a move of bizarre organisation, and I don't know what we've been doing, but we just have the one email this week.
Get your emails in, guys.
Get your emails. I mean, we do. And
we do,
have
but
a lot.
we're saving
and we
them
can't
for
always
later.
read them all
They're
out.
about films
like,
that aren't out.
Some are in the past and so whatever. But like, having gone through and, last week we did those. And I've checked our files to this week. And we only have one from friend of the show, Alice Bandakravi.
Friend of the show.
Alice Bandakravi, who writes in and says, compliments, questions, and Coraline.
Love that.
Dear James and George, as you know, I'm a huge fan of your work on both pods, Double Take, which is really going from strength to strength.
Thank you.
And Pulp Kitchen, which remains essential listening for me.
Thank you for your support.
But I'd like to add a mention for something which I think is often overlooked in podcasting generally, and that is the quality of your voices.
Oh.
I may be a complete fussbot for saying this, and we should say that Alice is a professional broadcaster.
Yes,
so this is high praise indeed. I may be a complete fussbot for saying this, but all too often people are podcasting with really scratchy or squeaky, annoying voices. You two, however, have a lovely tone, and it's a pleasure to listen to you. I'd also like to give an honourable mention to George for the way he always re-emphasises the name of the quiz as he starts the game. Guess the movie from The Thing.
Is me and George realising sometimes we leave it in the edit, but the first literal 2 seconds of a TikTok social are the most important, so we have to make sure it does it.
One addendum, James.
Yeah.
It's cuckoo, not cuckoo.
Oh,
just
saying.
It's an objective.
Alice, I believe you.
Anyway, I've been meaning to write in since the death.
Sorry. I'm not letting this go. How did she spell it as she wrote it out?
Emphasis CU, capital letters, hyphen, lowercase, CKOO.
Cuckoo.
Cuckoo. So the emphasis is on the
cuckoo.
Emphasis on cuckoo.
Yeah.
Not
cuckoo.
That's
not cocoon.
Yeah.
It's cuckoo.
Yeah, that's it. You got it. You got
Thanks,
it there.
Alice.
Splitting hairs, but I'm
Why,
sure.
Alice, thank you very much.
Anyway, I've been meaning to write in since the death of legendary French actor Alain Delon because my mum told me that the 1960 film Plein Soleil, Purple Noon, thank you for the French title, which is an adaptation of Patricia Highsmith's The Talented Mr. Ripley, is really great. As you are such fans of Ripley, I wondered if you'd seen it. I hadn't, and it was only this year when the TV show came out that I realised that the first cinematic adaptation had been Purple Noon. I don't know much about it other than the fact that it had Alain Delon in it, but it looks gorgeous as well. Now, to the main point of the email. I love to watch films with my six-year-old daughter, and it's a nice way to spend time together, and it gives me a chance to catch up with movies I've never seen myself as a child. Recent highlights include The Princess Bride and The Parent Trap. Thank you for the review.
Nice.
Yes, I watched it for the first time, reviewed it on the Patreon.
And it's brilliant.
It is great. I actually have such a warm feeling in my heart.
I had this great moment when, because I rewatched it recently, where I was so glad to find out a film that I hadn't seen in over 10, 15 years was still great. Because you can't always tell how these things are going to age.
Do you know what I think it's perfect for? Is if now I've seen it, if I'm this Christmas and it's like it's in that sort of weird like daytime bit where like people are cooking and like you want something on the TV. You don't necessarily.
It's very sequency.
You've
got the camp sequence.
Put it on, gorgeous to look at. Oh, Dennis Quaid. Oh, Natasha Richardson. Yeah. Sorry. Alice goes on to say, I recently took my daughter to see Coraline, the stop-motion animation which has been re-released for its 15th anniversary, written and directed by Henry Selick. And Henry Selick very famously directed what film that people think was directed by somebody else? Henry Selick directed The Nightmare Before Christmas, which everyone thinks is Tim Burton, but it's actually Henry Selick. And James, have you seen Coraline?
Yes, but a long time ago now. I don't know it well.
Neither have I. I haven't myself. But anyway, Alice says, I cannot tell you how awful the experience was.
Oh.
My first mistake was not to have done any research beforehand. Because it was rated PG, I just assumed it would be appropriate for my child and her cousin. It was not. It was beyond creepy and dark and played on all of our worst childhood fears about being kidnapped and having your parents taken away from you. It looked very much like a Tim Burton film, lots of shades of blue and grey with a sense of dark foreboding and genuine threat throughout. I tried to make light of it as we sat there and the plot got darker and darker, and at around the halfway mark, I wondered whether to leave or not. So I had to Google to see if there was going to be a happy ending. Because the verdict online was positive, I felt we had to stay so the kids could see how the plot was going to resolve itself. I hated the whole thing. The girls thought it was creepy, but it didn't seem as affected as I thought it would be. But didn't seem as affected by it as I thought they would be. But I would not be surprised if they have nightmares. It seems to have a cult following, but but I, for one, cannot recommend it at all. My question is, can you and your listeners recommend more films, ideally not horror, that I can watch with my young child? We've seen most of the modern-day animated ones already. Thank you, James and George. Hope you are a delight. Your Siren of London, W1A, Alice.
Can I just say, funnily enough, a film that I had a very similar experience with, but when I was younger, is the James and the Giant Peach adaptation, which is also Henry Selick.
My brother had the same experience,
and I found it really... I remember I would watch it, but I just found it's a really dark, both in themes, that novel and that film is, but also it is a literally dark film, and the animation style is very disturbing, and the rhinoceros in that is terrifying. I used to find it really uncomfortable, and I do have memories of finding it too much and running away from the screen.
Yeah.
So there must be something about Henry Selick's storytelling vision that just actually is meant to be quite unsettling. And unsettling. And I'm actually confident. I've not seen that film since I was a kid, but I reckon if I did, I would still find it uncomfortable, even though I'm all big now.
You're a big boy now.
I'm a big boy. Hey.
My mum told me a story as well. The first film she ever took my brother. I don't think I was around at this point. I don't think I was. It was just a thought.
It's an idea.
The first film she took my brother to see was James and the Giant Peach, and she sat him. Like my brother was sat on my mum's lap, and he just cried throughout the entire thing because it is threatening. The rhinoceros is horrible, and it's all.
And there's remind me the actor who plays
Jeffrey Rush.
No. Oh, sorry. Hold on.
Anyway, on that question,
he's really good. His name is Pete Postlethwaite.
Oh, Pete Postlethwaite, who's iconic British actor.
Has a really interesting face, and he's brilliant in everything that he's in. But he's also very intense and very scary in that film. And I just always remember finding him a really jarring and unsettling presence. That's not his fault. I think that's just that's what he's doing.
What I liked about Pete Postlethwaite as well as an actor is that he could always be slightly kind. He can do kindly and sympathetic, like he's the apothecary in Romeo and Juliet. But he could also
that common thing in children's stories of the scary old man.
Yes.
Like in Mary Poppins, the bank. Dick Van Dyke also plays the bank manager, and they look you very closely in the eye, and they're very intense. They have weird faces, and they're really intimidating. It's like a very common thing for old people to scare children. Sorry.
No.
Yes.
I guess just basically films to watch with children that aren't scary. I mean, that's quite a broad one.
A lot of the good ones have a bit of darkness in them, I will say.
Yeah, you need it.
Disney
it's
is
like
always
an inoculation.
I've always found Sleeping Beauty brilliant and cozy, but there's so much darkness, and the way in which the palace that she is taken from is really gothic and austere, and it's always very scared me, like the dark corners of the palace. But that's a really wonderful photo. I love Sleeping Beauty. I'm trying to think now.
I didn't. The Pixar's, I've done that, the main obvious ones. I never really saw a lot of the Disney ones when I was younger.
Remind me how old did you say how old her children were? 6. Yeah, so 6. Let me think.
I'm sure you've done like the more modern ones, Zootopia, Big Hero 6. That's all fun.
Oh, Big Hero 6 is
Big
great.
Lovely, with a bit of darkness at the beginning.
Definitely a bit of darkness. Hold on. Ratatouille, obviously amazing.
Yeah.
Up, I hope you've seen. Finding Nemo, I think you would have seen. How do you feel about Chitty Chitty Bang Bang Mary Poppins stuff, like the musical numbers from the 1960s?
I don't know how well those age.
I think they'd be fine. I think Mary Poppins ages fine. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang,
yeah,
Bed Knobs and Broomsticks. I wonder if you've
that.
jumped into those yet, because those are meant for their family fun. Never a bad time to watch The Sound of Music.
Yes.
Love that. I don't know if you're into those like musicals from that era.
Yeah, I suppose musicals are a good way if you've done all the animations like Oliver. I tell you what, I rewatched Oliver the film not too long ago. Slaps, still great, and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory with Gene Wilder. That's a great one as well.
You could also, I wonder at 6, like the Spirit of Adventure from like the first Indiana Jones. Is that age appropriate? I can't tell. Probably a bit too soon.
Because also, and also Raiders of the Lost Ark, the face melting. You don't want to see that when you're 6.
No.
Spirited Away. Spirited Away, just say
yes.
Studio Ghibli, but also unlike Spirited Away, great.
Wallace and Gromit,
yeah,
Curse of the Were-Rabbit.
all of it.
Those are really good fun, and the grown-ups watching them also have loads of fun with them.
Chicken Run.
Yeah, Chicken Run, and there's darkness in it.
Yeah, that's it.
Chickens get in that film, but it's so good. I love Chicken Run. We've talked lots about
from Tweedy's farm.
I'm telling you, they're organised.
Chickens go in, pies come out. Oh, what kind of pies? Apple.
Chicken pies, you
my
idiot.
favourite.
Oh, Matilda. Roald Dahl's Matilda with Danny DeVito. That
is
really good. Again, darkness in there, but that's brilliant. Great for 6-year-olds.
Alice, I hope we've answered your question well for you there. Hello to you. Great to have you writing into the show. Lovely to hear from you. And that is our main email from today. I don't know if we've got our organisation down to a T or incredibly incorrect, but that is our main email for today. So we will wrap this up, as we do every week, with a game.
I would just say I jumped into Harry Potter when I was probably 7 or 8, and I found it appropriately scary.
Yes,
because it was Dark Forest and it was Voldemort in the woods.
Yes.
But like I watched Fellowship of the Ring and Harry Potter once at similar times, and I was just on the edge of being too young to watch them, which I think really enhanced the fear of the ring race, being scared of Voldemort.
So for my birthday this year, James very kindly got me a Ultra Blu-ray, a special edition, the best you can get, Lord of the Rings trilogy box set. Thank you. Because as you know, my knowledge of those films is basically spotty, is basically incomplete and never really done properly.
It was sort of there for George whenever he's ready to do it, because it's a huge time commitment.
But I can tell you now, the days are getting colder. Yeah. The nights are drawing near, and today
it was an awesome present.
The smell of the leaves, the brown leaves blowing across the street, and I part of me went, it is time.
It is time.
And I'm looking forward to a Sunday to busting out 3.5 hours.
Yes.
And I will be I'll take my time with them, but I will be watching them and reviewing them on the Patreon.
The good thing is, and this might be sort of like, I can watch them like this, but some people might be like, James, you're crazy. I actually think you can split, especially Fellowship and Two Towers, in half.
Right.
If you got to the point where you were like, listen, I can't watch 3 hours and 40 minutes of film tonight, I could tell you exactly in the Fellowship of the Ring where to stop.
Okay.
You'll have watched an hour and 40 minutes of film, which is a film. Yeah. You could stop there and very happily jump into the second half and go from there. But you might be a purist.
When we inevitably discuss it, when I've seen them,
yes.
Are you going to be prepared if I say I didn't like them?
Of course.
You're going to be but you're going to be okay with that?
Yeah, it'd be surprising.
Yeah,
because I don't think anyone dislikes them.
Oh, my family did. I mean, that's why. Oh, yeah, my dad did. I mean, that's why I never really found it a bit silly. You know, that's why it was I didn't grow up in a Lord of the Rings culture.
They're not fantasy people, though, are they?
No.
Yeah, I'd say like people who like. It's rare I find people who like fantasy don't like them. Yeah.
Okay,
but they'll be good.
Anyway,
I'll probably let me know because I'll flick it on. I haven't watched it yet this year, so
watch this space, or more specifically, watch this Patreon space for the reviews that will be coming on there at some point. Great. Let's conclude this episode with a game. James, as ever, Pulp Kitchen ends
with a game.
James, this week we return to the language game. We continue our tour of Europe.
Phenomenal series.
We've been to France, we've been to Germany, we've been to Spain, and this week, James, can you do your best Tom Ripley and go to Italy and see if you can speak Italian?
Smash hit on social media, guys.
I want to begin by saying thank you to my friend Fabio, who has helped me collate some of these organic 100% authentic Italian movie titles. A reminder again, if you're new to the show, that these are movie titles released in Italy, translated from, American or English titles.
Wacky translations.
Something has been lost in translation. And so I've collated them together. I will do my best to read them out properly.
I think you've always done very well.
So, as ever, I'm going to read out the Italian title, then I'm going to read you out the translation, and you have to guess for me what the movie is.
And apologies for it's the wrong. I know with the Spanish one, we had lots of people commenting saying, "Well, that's not Spanish. That's Latin Spanish."
Colonialism, man. Like just different parts of the world. Look,
give us a break.
Well, Yes, so obviously Spain with its history and its empire, South America, France, when we did that one, everyone was like, oh, that's French Canada, with the Quebec. Italy never really had a huge empire, so this is all just...
They tried.
They tried. Mussolini's invasion of Abyssinia in 1936. We learned about it at school. Yep. Italian movie titles, James. So let's proceed. So, guess the movie from its Italian film title. L'attimo fuggente, The Fleeting Moment.
Oh. The Fleeting Moment.
That is Dead Poets Society.
Oh, okay. Wouldn't call that.
L'amore bugiardo, The Deceptive Love.
Deceptive love.
Love that's deceptive. You're in a relationship, but there's deception. L'amore bugiardo.
True Lies.
No, it is Gone Girl.
Oh, okay. Yeah, very good.
Quando l'amore brucia l'anima, when love burns the soul.
Love burns the soul. Is it like,
These are crazy, by the way. You're never gonna
so Italian, by the way. When love burns the soul. Is it like a sort of deal with the devil type thing?
It's not. It is Walk the Line.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Si mi lasci ti cancello. If you leave me, I'll delete you.
What? My super ex-girlfriend?
No.
No.
If you leave me, I'll delete you.
Huh?
No. Close. You're in a similar vein.
Is it like sci-fi?
Kind of.
If you leave me. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Yes. Well done. Le ali della libertà. The Wings of Liberty.
Wings of Liberty. They're so literal. So
liberty is...
is it like about flying? Is it
no,
not Top Gun?
More about liberty. What's liberty?
Freedom.
Freedom.
Oh, is it like a slavery film?
No, but
Wings.
Close to slavery. What's about freedom? You want to...
The Patriot.
No.
It's like...
freedom.
Lincoln.
No, not historical slavery.
Django Unchained.
No. Chains. What would you be if you're in chains? Yeah, it is The Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought you were really taking me down history.
No, I was trying to be like prisoner incarceration.
Okay.
Noi siamo infinito. We are infinite.
We are infinite.
This is actually a line of dialogue in the movie, if you know the movie. We are infinite.
We are infinite.
Noi siamo infinito.
No, I don't got it.
That is Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Oh, nice. Okay.
L'amore tradotto. Love translated.
Lost in translation.
Correct. Probably the easiest one.
Yeah, very good.
Spiritello Pocello. Little piggy spirit.
Spirited Away.
No, your
Little Piggy Spirit.
It is so far
Animal Farm?
from what it is that I cannot explain what went through the
Pigs in
Italian's
film.
mind when they came up with this.
Pigs in film. No, go on.
It's Beetlejuice.
Never gonna get.
Trappola di cristallo. Crystal trap.
Is it Indiana Jones?
No.
Crystal Trap.
You're thinking about it way too logically.
No. Okay.
You're trapped in a crystal.
Oh, the Jewel of the Nile.
No, but I like it.
Okay. Trapped in a crystal. Is it? No, go on.
It's Die Hard.
What? It's
Crystals,
always Die Hard.
Die
I swear they
Hard
come up
every
everyone.
week comes up. La Hyena. La Hyena, which is the hyenas.
Okay, well.
Okay, not a pack of hyenas, but a pack of what other animals similar to hyenas? Think of a pack of what?
Wolves.
Yeah, but smaller than less aggressive than wolves, more domesticated.
Dogs.
Reservoir dogs.
Oh, what? You've thrown. Now I'm thinking about dogs.
But it's in the title.
I was going homeward bound. I was going the great escape.
Domenica in chiesa, lunedì all'inferno. Sunday at church, Monday in hell.
Is it like the Da Vinci Code? Is it Sunday in church? Hot Fuzz? No.
It is Martin Scorsese's Mean Streets.
If you say so.
Come un tuono. Like thunder.
Thor?
No. It's
Like thunder. Is it Lightning McQueen's Cars? Lightning.
it's so annoying how unlike any of the guesses. Everything you've said would make more sense.
Yeah, okay.
But the answer is The Place Beyond the Pines.
Never in a million years. Like thunder. How did I did it? Okay.
I know. Oh god, this one's a long one. Okay.
Yeah.
Tutti insieme appassionatamente.
Yeah.
All together passionately.
Passion of the Christ. No.
Nope.
All together passionately. Is it like a musical? It is. Is it like the Greatest Showman?
No, you've mentioned it today.
Oh, Sound of Music.
Yes,
yes,
well done.
Nice.
It's like she's saying to the children all
Grace.
together.
Lovely.
Fuori vecchi I figli ballano. When the old people are away, the son dances. Son is in child.
Home Alone.
No, good
Old
guess.
people are away. The son. Ferris Bueller.
No,
No.
same era, equally
Breakfast
iconic.
Club.
No,
No.
same, very famous actor when he was younger.
Oh, Risky Business.
Yes, well
nice.
done. La donna che visse due volte. The woman who lived twice.
The woman who lived twice.
Okay, very iconic film, very famous. In a film where he thinks a woman is dead, but then he thinks he sees another woman who's exactly like
Age
her.
of Adeline?
No, but what a pull that was. Good for you.
A woman who he thinks he sees the same.
Iconic, very famous. Often gets tops the best films of all time. I don't know if you've seen it.
Oh, go on.
Vertigo.
Oh, okay, no, I'm not seeing.
Final few. L'assassino ti siede accanto. The murderer sits next to you.
The murderer sits next to you. Is it like Murder on the Orient Express?
I love your enthusiasm to try and get it right. Would be a sensible guess, James.
Sure.
Unfortunately, it's Friday the 13th Part 2.
Oh, okay, cool. Could have been like Knives Out.
Could have been. That would have worked. Also, Friday the 13th Part 1 wasn't called like the murderer sits elsewhere.
No,
It was,
of course.
Voglia di vincere. Desire to win.
Could be Dodgeball.
A credible guess, James.
Desire to win, like challenges.
I love
Desire to win could be. Oh, go on.
Your efforts are all in vain because that is actually Teen Wolf. Go figure. I would have
really
thought
trying to
Lulupe.
think out the books.
You're giving it a great effort. Yeah. Last one. Per favore, non toccate le vecchietti. Which is, please don't touch the old ladies.
Please don't. What is it? Please don't touch.
Per favore, non toccate le vecchietti.
Please don't touch the old ladies. It could be anything. Is it? No, I don't.
That is The Producers.
I
would say, of all the countries
those
we've
are
done
the
so
hardest
far,
ones, yeah.
the most batshit.
Yeah, completely on it. I can't link those.
The most sort of Italiano, we will just come up with.
Very Italian, though,
like,
some of those names.
Beautiful names.
What was the Sound of Music one? All together now.
All together now, passionately. Tutti insieme, appassionatamente. And like, I love the idea that Mean Streets is Sunday at church, Monday in hell. It's this very sort of Catholic approach to a film. I don't know why Beetlejuice is Little Piggy Spirit.
And I guess Beetlejuice is meant to be that piggy spirit.
And also for Beetlejuice, they just called it Beetlejuice. They didn't call it Spirito Porcello.
What changed in 34 years? That translation was no longer appropriate.
But I do actually think the deceptive love for Gone Girl is also gets very romantic, kind of interesting interpretation of that title.
I can see the sort of like dramatized, like Deceptive Love could be the name of like a juicy novel by the poolside, of which Gone Girl was like a poolside novel. I see it.
But thank you very much again to my friend Fabio for helping me to create that. And apologies, of course, to I think I've never learned Italian, but I do love Italy. We both love Italy.
It's fun to speak it.
It's very fun. It's got a real musicality to it. You know, like
and you really sort of leant over and took a breath and
and it's like that scene in Inglourious Basterds. Dominic De Coco.
Yeah.
Gorlarmi. Gorlarmi.
See.
Correcto. Anyway, you've reached the end of this episode. Thank you very much for joining us as ever. And a big thank you to our producers, Aidan and Finn. Well, what is there to say, James, other than please continue to support us on social media. We really appreciate it. Give us a follow, a share and everything. We got really interesting film nights coming up with lots of people soon, so check it out there. And we post events we go to and that kind of thing. And also, please continue to support us on the Patreon. We really appreciate it. But also, we have lots of stuff going on there that's really exciting. Double Take every week. You have complete access to the back catalogue, plus exclusive reviews we're doing on there as well.
New episodes every Wednesday. Your support means the world if you do. It really does make a massive difference, so thank you.
It does mean a lot, and we love doing this, so thank you for joining us. And look, we're entering a really interesting season now of film. We're looking at the weeks ahead. We've got the London Film Festival coming up. We've got all the interesting indie films like The Substance coming out soon. We're really excited, so I hope you join us for those.
Follow Alice Banchikavi and head over to watch Double Take. and listen to it.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
now
exactly.
available on Spotify if you want to support us there, or just on Patreon, wherever it's more convenient for you to watch and enjoy that. We're there for you, so please do it.
Other than that, have a great week, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.